Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofermento. And in today's episode, we've got an awesome entrepreneur who I'm so excited for you to get a feel for his energy, his experience, his attitude towards problem solving, and how we as entrepreneurs are solutions providers with a strong emphasis on customer service. There's so much we're going to learn from today's guest. So let me tell you all about him. His name is Darren Davidson. Darren is the CEO of MK Davidson Incorporated, where the company brings a unique backstage experience and knowledge into the wireless, optical fiber, and EV charger station market spaces. Years of proven experience providing high-level businesses, fast organic growth, production process, culture, and exceptional work product. The company was started in 1971. So there's an incredible backstory, not only to Darren's own entrepreneurial and business journey, but the business in and of itself. I'm excited to hear all about it here today. So I'm not going to say anything else. Let's dive straight into my interview with Darren Davidson. All right, Darren, I am so excited that you're here today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm just super glad to meet you, man. Thanks.
Heck yeah. No, honestly, likewise, because I know that your company is rooted in such strong values. I love companies that withstand the test of time because of that. So we're going to get into your company background, your background. Take us beyond the bio. Who the heck is Darren? How'd you start doing all these awesome things that you get to do today?
Well, first is I gotta give you some props here, Brian. I mean, what you're doing, I've been following what you do. And what a great idea, especially in today's environment. It's just amazing, giving people a chance to come out and just kind of share what they do and what they do best and what works and doesn't work. That's amazing. So, kudos to you, my friend. So, my company, I'm the CEO of MK Davidson. It started out as a concept. And I didn't know that I was going to be able to basically bounce it off my dad's company. And my dad started a company back in 1971, and that was a construction company that it put the roof over our head. It put me through college. Kept us going through life. And it was a lot of hard work, as construction is, but didn't go without challenges. But we. It allowed us a life, and we're middle class. We're not rich. We're not we're not anything more than just hardworking people that are providing a service into society. So, for more to that, Dad passed a few years ago, and I had an agreement with him that I would reincorporate his corporation out into California. So this started in Chicago. I moved the company in 2020. We have a California general contractor license in the state of California. We're continually growing into other states. So the company today, what it does is we're a successful telecom company, and with a little bit of an extension into power, such as EVs. We provide construction services for installing EV stations for electric vehicle cars, such as the Teslas and on and on. So basically what we do right now is the telecom part of it is we do wireless, and the wireless side of it is the big cell towers that you see. Everyone always references the palm trees, and so some of that, and we'll see a lot of antennas and so forth that are on rooftops, and so. But we're even more so getting now into the small cells, and they're the ones that are more aesthetically pleasing. They're on the telephone poles, and they're kind of meant to only cover a very small area. We've been doing quite a bit of those, and we also do fiber optics. So we provide fiber in the easements and fiber to the home and fiber to basically anywhere. They call that FTTX, fiber to the X is anywhere you want fiber, anywhere you need fiber, we can bring it to you. So we have quite a long list of customers that we work with. And so that's pretty much the benchmark of it. And I didn't create any of it other than I just kind of fell into this thing and found a good way to do it, and it's just seeming to work.
Yeah, I love that overview for so many reasons, Darren. Obviously, I love the family background that you talked about. I mean, you grew up around entrepreneurship, and especially, I'm going to call out, in a very tough industry. And I know that you are full of humility, which is a great thing. I'm going to humble brag for you throughout today's session together, because I really respect the fact that this is an infrastructure-based company. And I think that that is such a complex world to navigate. And Darren, knowing you even from our pre-hitting record conversation here today, so much of what you focus on is that problem solving. Because when we're talking about infrastructure, listeners know my word of 2024 is building. We had an architect come on at the end of 2023, actually based in Orange County as well. And what we talked about was how much thought and intention and strategy and long-term vision and planning goes into all various degrees of infrastructure. And I think that that directly translates to business. For us, we need to think not just short-term, but that long-term. Darren, you've really seen the progression of the company first and foremost as your dad's son, then as someone who got to work with your dad, now as the CEO of your company. What is that balance for you? Because it's fascinating that you're keeping up, you're exceeding the new age era. You talk about EV charging stations. Your dad in 1971 would have been like, what? Why would we ever do that? Talk to us about that balance from a CEO's perspective of that short term, let's execute on where the market is today versus, hey, let's think future for infrastructure because that's where it's going.
Yeah. So starting from the root of what we're talking about, it starts with yourself. You have to start with yourself. You have to be physically healthy, mentally healthy, coming from a solid home foundation. For me, what I'm finding is I found a really special person in my life. It's not, if you're not in love, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means that you're half happy. I found that when I have a really good person and a solid support at home, I have a solid, healthy life to lean on. And I find that to be incredibly important, because what I'm finding is that, as I get older, I knew this as a young person. My dad explained this to me, is that the successful business is always about people. It's people, product, process. It starts with people. And if you figure that part of it out, and I didn't really start to respect that until I starting to get in my own company. And so if you look at yourself first, if you're unhealthy physically, mentally, you're having a really tough time at home, and you don't get that solved first, it's like going to lend money to somebody without any money in the bank. It's a tough start, and it's 1,000 times harder. Now, I'm not saying that your home has to be perfect, because that's not real. That's not realistic. But you may want to try to do the best you can to make good, clear decisions, eat correctly, exercise, make sure that you're physically as best as you can possibly be, and then get your mental, physical, and home life well-rounded before you get into something like this. The next thing you do before you get into a company is that you look into it and see. First, you have to learn the customers. You have to understand what their challenges are. You have to understand what the opportunities are by learning what it is that's going on in the market space, and then try to figure out if there's a way that you can do it 5 times better. What can you contribute into the market space? If you're going in to just do a me too, I'm not saying that there's always a money-making opportunity to be the close second. Always. But do you want to be a close second, or do you want to be a pioneer? And so you can make that decision. But my dad told me, I used to drive back and forth to work with dad in the passenger seat, and he gave me quite a bit of, good dashboard time. And some of the things he would say to me is, if you're going to do something, you got to do it 5 times better than anyone else, or you're just like everyone else. So what are you going to provide as a service or product into society that is better? How are you producing? How are you advancing? You have to adapt. You have to, when things are, curveballs, changes, all these things, you have to welcome these things, because anytime that something changes or you change it, there's learning opportunities. And if you're providing something that's better, faster, that's something that's valuable to customers, now you've got something. Now it becomes you're solid, you're mentally set, you're physically good. You have a good, solid foundation at home, and then you have to use your network to surround yourself with really good people, and you're building something that is about people, And these people now have a place to go, and they believe that they belong to something that's bigger than themselves. A lot of people I find will take a lesser paycheck if they see opportunities to learn and to grow. I've been around a lot of people that want to hold on to information because they feel that knowledge is power. Why would I share that? I'll tell you, if you're able to get everybody into a big entity and everybody, my ultimate goal, and I've said this every day of every time I go to work, I want everybody at my company to know everybody else's job, including mine. And if I can set somebody else up and they tell me 5 years from now they want to start their own company, we celebrate that and we help them and we do the best we can. If somebody comes to me and says, hey, look, personally, professionally, I put a lot of thought into this, Darren. I think I need to move on to something else that is not available here within the company. We celebrate that. It's not about us. It's not about the company. The company will be fine. I go to people and say, it's about you. You have to take whatever you can get from this, and you have to put a roof over your head, take care of your family, make sure that you are growing. If you're not growing, you can make a whole bunch of money, but if you're not learning anything, you're going to just stay right there. You need to find ways to evolve. Always evolving. Yeah. So that's kind of I know that was a lot of wheelbarrow dump, but
it's super valuable, Darren, because I'm going to throw this out there and I'm going to directly call listeners out, because how frequently, this is why I love these conversations, Darren, because this is the real entrepreneurial talk that people don't typically have in public. So it's fun for us to be recording this for thousands of people all around the world. And I love and respect and really appreciate the way that you took that question, Darren, because you pointed out, hey, this is about having that solid foundation in life. Life complements business and vice versa. Neither of these two exist in a silo. And I think there's a lot of power in the fact that that's the direction you took that question in, because a lot of entrepreneurs and all of you entrepreneurs out there, I'm calling you all out, that you think the difference maker is going to be some sort of business strategy that's going to be the magic pill that takes you to success. Success leaves clues. You've heard from Darren. How many other amazing entrepreneurs do we have on as guests that they consistently point back to? This is the foundation in which I build my business. It starts from building my life. And so the fact that all of these things are layered on and how meaningful it is to you, Darren, I think that this is the secrets to your success, if you will, because these are the values that you hold near and dear. And the fact that, your father's name is forever enshrined in your company name. MK Davidson stands for your dad, Mickey Davidson. And I think that's so cool hearing his influence on your life, and you continue to spread that message with others. I'm dying to hear some of those other insights as far as what was it that drove him? Because there's so many ups and downs in any industry, but the construction industry, any infrastructure industry, I think is particularly difficult. What are some of those lasting lessons that really shaped the way that you view? Clearly, they've shaped the way that you view not just business, but life. I'd love to hear that one thing that always came up for him as far as pushing him on.
Yeah. I'd say the thing that pushed him on was the ability to be able to, and I learned from him, and this was the biggest thing I think that I learned from him, was he really, really enjoyed watching people learn something that is a new trade, something that they can benefit from for the rest of their life, and giving them that opportunity. And he would invest in people. And I'm not talking about his time. I'm talking, he would come in with a used truck, tools. He would outfit a guy and say, here's what you need to just get started. Let's get you working. And as you learn and make money, you'll be able to buy your own tools and, learn to do things your own way. And the thing that he would do, and I would watch, and as a kid, I was just excited to watch what he did, is that he explained to me, and he would say this to everyone, and I still continue to do this. When I interview people, I explain to potential individuals that be working with the company is that every person on this planet is here to learn. They have the right to learn. And then some of the best ways to learn are through mistakes. Okay, so mistakes happen. It's how we handle the mistakes is how well we're going to learn. And people not only have the right to learn, they have the right to learn at their pace. Some people learn things faster than other people. that's okay. And I mean, and it's always by topic and so forth. I mean, there's times where I take pride in that. There's certain things that when I'm in my environment, I can learn a lot faster than most. But you put me into something, anything else, I'm in the back of the pack. I don't learn as fast as everybody. So you have to, take things from that perspective. And when you start a company, the mind is always, I have to find a lot of money because I have to hire the best people. And the people that are highly experienced or educated, and they're the best of the best. And I watch the Elon Musks. They have one heck of a grueling process to get into SpaceX and so forth, and for good reason. He's got the best engineers in the world. But there's also things that you don't hear, that there's opportunities with Elon Musk to be that person that if you can come in and say, hey, look, I've got a pattern of learning. I'm excited about this. This is, I've shown that I have interest in this and in some fashion, and I would like to be taught by the best. And so, but in other words, he gives them a chance. He gives them home, so you can come in and you can start someplace. Even if, and again, even if you're making a lower salary right now, and I know that's not an option for most people, but if you can take a lower salary and trade that for opportunity to grow and to learn and to advance in a trade, that's huge. And as the biggest gift that was ever given to my dad was the ability to create an environment with a company where people can have an opportunity to come and learn and grow and thrive. And hopefully, my dad even said this. I said, Dad, well, you're going to train them. You're going to teach them all this stuff. And they're just going to leave the company and become your competitor. And he says, man, I hope so. I hope so. He says, because in this market space, he says, I don't see other general contractor businesses as competition. I see them as people that we could potentially do business together with. And there's plenty of work. There's always construction, always. So, I'm hoping that people will come to our company and make a life for themselves. And, there's nothing more rewarding than somebody going and flourishing from that. Whether it's within the company or onto their own, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And if we can create entrepreneurs, what an amazing gift, right? So it's a mindset. And and if you think about this, I mean, back in when I was growing up through the 70s and 80s. There were people that were on assembly lines, and they were expected to do the same thing over and over every day, same thing, 8 hours. They check in, they check out, they get a paycheck, they go home, and it's about people, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's still places that are like that, but the thing that have changed since then is that there used to be companies that you can go to, and Dad worked there for 40 years. Grandpa was there for 40 years. The guy, the current generation is there. He's been there for 20 years. That's almost all but gone. You'll see that companies, they, especially through promotions and all these other things that happen, eventually there's all these layoffs and all these things that are going on, right? So, for me, there's nothing wrong with an assembly line, because that's part of what it is. But we have to evolve from some of the nostalgia of loyalty, because it is business, and it's no longer about hey, let's make sacrifices as individuals for the company. No, you have to take care of yourself and the company. If you are coming in and contributing into the company will be fine. And if you belong to something that's bigger than yourself, you're going to contribute, and you're going to feel that you have purpose, because everybody to your left and to your right are relying on what you do. That's where the company succeeds. And if you put your best foot forward in every day, we've already won, right? And then it's just a matter of providing the best product or service into society as best as we can. And that's where we get these high quality, high expectations that are big successes, that are big wins, win for alls, and that's where all this comes from. If we treat people, and I've seen this before in companies, when they're startup, they have this idea that it is about people, and then the owners get a little bit of taste of money and they want more, and it becomes about money. and every person that's in the company has a dollar value. And then after that, what comes next is when they don't worry about money, then it becomes about power. And if an entrepreneur can stay away from that mindset and maintain that it's about people and keep it that way, their companies it's going to succeed, and they'll be way better for it. And the longevity will be forever. You'll forever have good people around you for the rest of your life. That to me is I learned that and I watched that. I've seen the people that surrounded my father it's miraculous. It's something like, it's the most motivating thing that you'll ever see. And so I honor him. I will do his name proud. I'll do his company name proud. I'll represent the people that are part of MK Davidson in the best way possible. And I want people to know, if this is something that you want to do, this is a great place to go work. We have wonderful customers. We have wonderful opportunities. And the company is just, I just sit back once in a while. We work really, really, really hard. And then we stop for a minute. We look around and we say, holy cow, this is, look at where this is going. We love this. This is wonderful, So kind of like your business, Brian, look at that, right?
Yeah, it is crazy. Trust me, so much of what you're sharing, I relate to, because it is crazy. Like to take a second to pause and reflect on what we've built, and we turn around and what really fills me up with so much joy, Darren, is the way that you talk about livelihood. Like so much of it is you genuinely love the human element behind it. And it's one thing I want to call out for listeners is you use these words. I don't know if I've ever heard these words used in a business setting, Darren. You said a pattern of learning. And I think as entrepreneurs, we beat ourselves up in so many different ways. But I think the way that you show up here today, this conversation is amazing because I think it just reveals so much as to why you're successful and why your business is the way that it is because of the way that you view these things. You saying pattern of learning, Darren, you don't expect perfection out of anybody. You're not hiring based on perfection. You're just looking for patterns of learning, recognizing full well that there's so much growth potential if those patterns are there. And it reminds me, so I was an economics and finance major in school, and I'll never forget one of my finance professors told us, whether this story is true or not, the lesson is very poignant. And he said that there was a young trader who lost, his first ever business, $5 million on a bad trade. And he went to his boss and he was like, boss, are you going to fire me? And the boss said, fire you? I just invested $5 million into you. And I think it's such an important story because as business leaders, we get to exhibit this, Darren. We get to create that environment of investment, of growth, of recognition of, hey, none of us are perfect. So I think it takes a lot of the ease off of us. And I want to pick on that human element a little bit more because I think this is yet another element to your business that makes you super unique. Because a lot of people will hear what we talked about at the top of the episode, fiber optics, EV charging stations, infrastructure, construction, all of that. But you don't talk about that. You talk about the humans. And at the root of what you guys do is, I love it in the way that you describe your company. Processes to enhance the quality of customer interaction. Darren, talk to us about the customer side of the world because that is such a unique way that you position yourself in the marketplace.
Yeah, so what I encourage our teams to do is, if you look at, we're a smaller company in the scheme of things. If you start looking at some of our customers, they have tens and tens of thousands of employees. Right now we're 22, so we're relatively small. So what does that give us? Because there's good and there's advantages and pros and cons of both. But the pros is that if we're leveraging it, a smaller company to come in and work with a larger company, let's say the customer's process, which is an assembly line of, let's use just a random number of 20 people, and from a purchase order to all these little pieces of process, right? And they're processing, as a larger company, they're processing more volume, which means each and every process has a person, right? And that those people, their tunnel vision on exactly what comes in, they do what they do, and then they pass. That's part of the assembly line, right? We as a smaller company will come in and we will build relationships with each and every one of those people. And it's not asking for a key to the castle. It's more of a build a relationship, build a trusting relationship, and try to learn what their challenges are, and what their expectations are and what it is that they're trying to produce in their station. So if they had 20 people on an assembly line and I have 2 people that know each and every person's job and what they do from start to from beginning to end, and then we have this unique process, thing that's a value within my company that we can now come in and say, I know I can help this person over here in part of the process, and it'll make things even better all the way down the line within our customer's process. So what does that mean? It makes things easier for them. It's faster. It's more accurate. It's, again, it goes back to doing it 5 times better. It's knowing the customer's challenges and expectations sometimes better than what they do. That's the goal. It doesn't always work that way, but that's what we try to strive to do. So if we can do something like that, then what we're now looking to do is we're going into the quality of product and service that we provide to the customer and see what we can do to do something. What is it that we're going to do to make things not just different, but better? How? Right. And we make suggestions to the customers. And 99.9% of the time, the customer is willing to invest with us because they understand that we have good intentions. We've built the trust, and they say, go give that a shot and let's see what happens. And then once we do that, we now have a connection that will provide in whatever fashion in longevity. We now have a customer for a long time, or a long-term customer, as you would say. Right. So that's the goal. Then if we're better off, the customer's better off, our service is better off, and then we just build it, and we keep doing that over and over and over again as best as we possibly can. So that's been kind of the trick, a little bit. And again, it doesn't matter if it's about fiber or wireless or EV stations. We just happen to be people that know that, because I've been in it since I've gotten out of college when I was a kid. So it just so happens that that happens to be the product and service that is our specialty. But you can use these principles in virtually anything.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the point that I love, Darren. And it's particularly the way that you just phrased and articulated that in front of us here in real time. I love that way that you say it. It just so happens that that's the vehicle in which you do it. But really what I'm hearing from you today is you're in the people business, you're in the problem solving business, and it just so happens that fiber optics, EV charging stations, all these other things are part of the solutions that you're able to provide. I absolutely love the way that you look at that. And it leads me to, I can't let you go here today without picking into this part of your brain, because I love the way you think. You're such a visionary and long-term thinker. Darren, this I'd argue is the most discouraging part of growing a business for most entrepreneurs and for all entrepreneurs, is that sales, is that growth. People always look at it as, okay, because in an ideal world, would we all like to generate $1 million in sales today? Of course we would, but it doesn't really happen that way. Darren, you and I, throughout the entirety of our careers, we've learned to be more patient with that. We've learned about the longevity of the sales cycle, of the relationship cycle. Talk to us about your sales cycle, because your customers are obviously all different sizes, all different industries and walks of life. How do you view that, and how do you balance that? Because relationships, we can't just measure them based on if we get a sale today or not. What's your attitude towards sales in general?
So sales is not what it used to be. So when I grew up, I remember as a little kid, and oh my gosh, I'm going to date myself. That's horrible. But as a kid, we used to have door-to-door people that would, from Sears and Roebuck. Sears and Roebuck, they used to have a catalog that was this thick. And you would see this poor guy, he'd be in plaid pants and plaid sport coat, and he's carrying this catalog. And he'd have whatever the product of the week was. And he could be a vacuum cleaner. And he'd have a practice sales pitch. And it was always so funny to watch for me. I don't know why I found it funny, but hear the doorbell ring. Mom answered the door. And a gentleman there, he's sweating it out. He's sweat dripping from his chin. And he says, "Hi, my name is so-and-so from Sears. Are you the woman of the home?" And she says, "Well, yes, I am." And he says, Well, I'm here today for you, not for me, for you to talk to you about the Sears and Roebuck's new vacuum cleaner. Can I come in? And he would come in and throw dirt on the floor, and he'd start vacuuming. And yes, it vacuums, and and trying to sell vacuums. And if you try to do something like that today, you risk your life. Nobody wants. I mean, with COVID and all this, I mean, in other words, those days are over. It doesn't work. And even more so, what I'm talking about when it comes to sales. Nobody wants to work with a salesperson that has nothing more than the responsibility of his commissions. Those if those are still alive in business development, and believe me, I'm coming from the business development side, so I'm kind of throwing my own self under the bus a little bit here. But if you're going to be in business development, you better have the ability to not only provide the service, but when things go wrong, you got to be the one throat to choke, as the customers would say. In other words, they want to call somebody and know that somebody's going to do something, right? And if they sold you, if they sold you a product and you're the consumer and you call the sales guy, he's already made the commission off of you. He has nothing to motivate him to solve any problems. What does he do? Please call our customer service number at 888 da 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 da. Call Jane back at the office. I'm sorry, can't help you. Right? Nobody wants to do business with a person like that. Me, for my company, I'm the sales guy. And how did I get to that? Well, it's not sales. It's about my friends. And majority of the customers that I have, in various levels, I call them, they're more my friends. And they know that I've earned the trust. I have zero interest of putting them in a bad spot. It does nobody any good. None. It does nothing but damage. So they know that at the very least that I'm trying to put my best foot forward to put them in a good spot. And if there's anything that they need, my customers, they know 99.9% of the time they call me, I answer on a half a ring, and they get the service that they're looking for. If they need resources, they get it. If they needed something fixed, I'm on it personally. I'll put the best of my best people on it and make sure that we're fixing things right away. That is the sales. It's not about a sales pitch. It's no longer. I mean, presentations, PowerPoint presentations. We use them to communicate. We don't use them for sales anymore. We used to back in the day have these amazing smart ways of selling things through PowerPoints and videos and so forth. Yeah, we can still use that as for information trading, but we don't use it to sell. You have to already have gotten the business. If you're sitting with a customer, it's because you've already built the relationship. It's because they already trust you. It's because they've already researched into you, and they already know that you have the capacity and the ability to do the work that they require. Then you can come in and say, through these medium, hey, this is how it is that we process. This is what we do internally. Here's some of the pictures of some of the work that we've done in the past. Give them a little bit more of a warm and fuzzy. But so sales is different. I mean, you see a lot of the customers, and they look at a salesperson like they're a nuisance. Like, hey, look, you're just coming in here to tell me what it is that I want to hear. You're just saying what I want to hear so that you can get a key to my castle. And these guys are becoming smarter to that. They just don't want that anymore.
Yeah, Darren, I'm really glad I asked you this, because I think that two of these core ingredients that I'm hearing in your answer, and listeners, I'm going to call this out because I think it's really important for all of us to incorporate this in our own sales processes, is what I'm seeing and hearing from Darren is a fierce level of accountability and responsibility. We can all hear very clearly right in front of us that Darren views himself as responsible with regards to all things. Darren, I've never heard that term, one throat to choke, but I absolutely love that, because we love that as customers. I even, you gave me a little PTSD when you said, oh, please call customer service at 1-800, because you're right. That's the way that most businesses treat us, especially big businesses. And that's why I think there's something so beautiful. I think from the beginning of time until the end of time, there's something something so beautiful and unique about small businesses that we are able to hold ourselves wildly accountable and wildly responsible to really be those agents of change and those agents of relationships. And I think it's abundantly clear to all of us here today in the way that you show up and the knowledge that you've shared with us, which leads me to, I always love asking this at the end of every episode. With you in particular, I'm especially excited for it because I have no idea which direction you're going to take this answer. But that question is, what's the one takeaway you hope every listener gets from here? Knowing that our listeners could be in various stages of their entrepreneurial journey, from entrepreneurs who are still kind of cautious about starting to entrepreneurs who are saying, gosh, how do I turn all this work and hustle into results? What's that one takeaway that you hope everyone walks away from today's episode with?
So if you're an entrepreneur, I've been an entrepreneur. I'm in a number of different reasons, that I won't share, but I'm still an entrepreneur. I don't come in and say I'm an expert at anything. I just, I happen to have a little sliver of pie that I'm able to contribute into a very, very special team that know what they're doing. These people that are around me, they know way more than I do in so many different environments. I'm a path. I'm a way. I'm a person that can provide, an opportunity in some cases. So, but one of the things that I would say is that if you're an entrepreneur, I'm going to tell you, there's right now that inside the economy today, there is going to be a shift of wealth that's going as we speak. A lot of people that got really, really wealthy, they're going to be moving some of that wealth, and now is the opportunity. So what does that mean is if you're in an environment and you think that you can provide a special service, one of the reasons why I started MK Davidson in Southern California, and a year or two, whatever, however long it's been, is because I got tired of people that I was reporting to telling me how to do it the wrong way. I felt confident that I could go and provide this service. If I was giving the autonomy, I can provide this service in a way that could be successful for not only for a company, but for the people that would work within it. That was where it started. The next thing was, I knew, again, I had to be mentally, physically sound at home. I have to get my home life in order 100%. And again, if you're not mentally, physically, and sound at home and personally, it's like loaning money to people without any money in the bank. You've got to have the strength to be able to solve, not overreact, to handle challenges and solutions, work long hours, have stamina, and be energized and passionate. And these things cannot be clouded by nonsense and drama and unnecessary things. I quit drinking just simply because I know that it clouds my mind and I can't think clearly. So I gave it up. So these are things that if you're going to do this, make big commitments, and I promise it will reward you 4x. Now, for the current entrepreneurs, for current executives, I would ask that I know, and I've seen it. I've lived through it a whole bunch. I'd ask is as you're going through big successes, as I'm sure most will, which I'm praying that everyone does, is that you don't forget that people are not numbers. Don't forget that. Don't forget they're not numbers. They're people. And if you really want to make a big monetary, positive change within your company, provide opportunities for people to learn. They're willing to take a pay cut if they're being trained to do something that they're passionate about, and they're not channeled and boxed with a name on their forehead that says, they're administrator or something, and then they get stuck. They may want to talk with them, ask them, where would they like to go in their life? They can start as an administrative person if they're learning from that. And what are they doing next? Because if you leave them as an administrative person for too long, they just go find another company to go work. And you're going to pay top dollar. They're going to fight for their promotion every time and raise, not just promotion, but I mean, they're going to be fighting for the raise because all they care about now is I'm not learning anything new. I'm doing the same product thing over and over and over again. So the only thing that they can do to show that they're growing is to show that they're getting a raise. So it's about people. Then it's people, product, process, right? And I would say the only other advice I have for entrepreneurs and executives is to, keep your ego in check. It's not about power. And if you make it about power, you think that people don't notice because you're charming and so forth. They see it. They know that you're walking around pounding your chest and you're acting. It's like, and making decisions because it's about power. Try to think about different ways to present yourself that makes you more of a team player, not a person of power. I see everybody in the company as an equal because we're all human beings. And every single person within my company, they just have different job descriptions, and we're all doing something a little bit different that contributes into the company. And we can all change. I hope that the administrator, some of the administrative people that are working for me, I hope they can do my job. And if they come into my office and they say, hey, Darren, I'd like to learn how you do your job. Heck yeah, I've got time for that. You want to, if you want to learn, I'll tell you what, I'll take my time from midnight till 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to steal an idea from my friend Stevie I got from the other day. If you want to learn from me, I'll be here at midnight. We'll work till 4 a.m. and I will teach you everything you want to know. I'll make that commitment to you. That, to me, that's an executive. That's somebody that's willing to do the extra. When you're able to do those types of things for people, that the reward that comes from that, from your company, all the way around, what you're providing to your customers, everything starts to flourish.
Yeah, amen to that advice, Darren. I'm so appreciative that that's what you've chosen to share with all of our listeners all around the world, because again, what I'm hearing, I just think it's such a recurring theme of your story, of the way you operate. Not only I want to say I respect you as a businessman, but gosh, as a human, because what I'm hearing from you so consistently today is extraordinarily high standards for yourself, that high accountability, because then you having that solid foundation to give from, you can then present those growth opportunities to everyone else around you. So I absolutely love that attitude. You've been such a wealth of knowledge here today. For listeners who are super keen to go further down the Darren rabbit hole and to learn more about your business, MK Davidson, drop those links on us. Where should listeners go from here?
Well, my company is MK Davidson. You can look it up as mkdavidson.com on the internet. You'll see what we do. If anybody, I'm also on LinkedIn. If anybody wanted to connect with me, I'm always open to ideas and answer quite a bit of questions. I do pay attention to the social media quite a bit. So, that's part of getting to know where everybody is and staying in track and who's moving from one company to the next. So if there's anything that I can do to better your day, to better your career, to put you in a better spot, like I say, I do respond to DMs quite a bit. If I don't respond right away, please understand. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But again, the other part is, always pay attention to the website and what we're doing on LinkedIn. We're growing like a weed. So 2024, we have super high expectations of product and service that we're going to be providing. So we're going to meet some really good talent and really good people. So if you think you've got, if you think this is the kind of environment you want to be a part of, feel free to reach out. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, I love that. Listeners, we are making it as easy as possible for you to connect with Darren and his business. We are dropping the links down below in the show notes, wherever it is that you're tuning into today's episode. His business website is mkdavidson.com. We're also linking to his personal LinkedIn. You should definitely check him out on LinkedIn, because you will see how generous he is with his praise, with shining a light on others. There's so much goodness. So Darren, you are one of the great ones. And I'm so grateful that you came and joined us here today on the show and shared all of this knowledge with us on the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast.
Thank you, Brian.